back to Shared Space. Thank you guys for joining us on the holiday week. This is Chat. I am Vice President of PowerFest Baltimore. I serve on this show and with Black Wall Street and BlackUSA.news and BeMoreNews.com with the Donnie Glover. This is my host, co-host, sister, community family, Laquita Chansey. Introduce yourself.
Hello, hello. I am Chat's sister from another Mr. Laquita Chansey, the founder and director of Baltimore Homes. And we build micro shelters and tiny homes for people who are experiencing housing insecurity right here in Baltimore. And Chat, we had our closing ceremony for Walk with the Doc, which was pretty cool. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But we also have Robert joining us today. What are we going to talk about with Robert, Chappie? What's going on?
Well, Mr. Washington, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, Chat, Quita. Nice talking with you all today. As they said, my name is Robert. My caption for my name is raising.a.dad.solutions with an S on it. I got it on my shirt too. Hold on, let me make sure I get in frame. And this is a name that I use on TikTok, and I have a YouTube page, but I don't really post on it. But one day I'm having some time to create great quality content around some type of dad series. So yeah, I'm here today. I caught the show and like you all's platform and wanted to discuss a topic that is all over the world, and it's called child support. Baltimore has a program. I can't find it enshrined in law, but Baltimore has a specific program where, and I found it. It's in a file somewhere on my computer or my phone, where if a person pays their child support on time for, I believe, 12 months. I'm not an attorney. Let me say, I'm not an attorney. Okay. I'm just a litigant in a case. I don't have a law degree. I've never been to law school. I've never been a judge. Don't aspire to be those things. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just talking about my experience and a shared experience of men and women who go through Title 4D, non-Title 4D, what most people call the child support system. All right, so I'm not giving any legal advice. I'm just talking about what I've discovered along my way, and I'm still discovering. But Baltimore has a program. I believe if you pay your child support for 12 straight months, they cut your arrearage in half.
Wow.
I was like, wow.
That is significant.
Wow. They will cut your arrearage in half.
Help me understand this whole child support situation. I am forever auntie. I don't have any children, so I don't know anything about child support for, or none of that, right? So it sounds to me, though, like that sounds really good for the father, right? Like that's awesome for him. But that doesn't sound awesome for the mother or the grandparent or whoever the custodian is, of the child, that this money that they needed to raise that child has now been cut in half. Like, where does the difference go? Is it accounted for? Is it poof in cyberspace? Like, tell me more, Robert. I have so many questions.
So, and that's a very good question. That's an authentic question. So as far as that, I don't know. That's why I laid it out in the beginning. I'm not an attorney. All right. I'm just giving the information that I saw regarding that program. Now, for my opinion on that.
That is great. No, like again, not in the child support situation, but I know that it's putting too many black men in jail. Like, I know that I have cousins who were given, money straight to baby mamas, so to speak, but that's not on the record, and they still get in trouble with child support. So I hear you. Like, I'm
I can
not.
speak to that.
Yeah, like, I'm all for it. I'm all for folks saving money or what, but still somebody got to take care of the kids. So go ahead, tell us about your experience though, Robert.
No, well, that is correct what you're saying, because so child support is a loosely thrown around term. So child support is made up of financial payments for the child. So that could be medical costs, that could be daycare, that could be horseback riding, that could be school uniforms. That financial payment is made up of whatever is decided in the order that is handed down by the judge presiding over the case. That's just been my experience. So with regard to what you're saying, that arrearage is payment that was supposed to be made, but it wasn't made for whatever particular reason. So in my experience, I had arrearage, and I've been paying it down, of almost $4,000.
Wow. Okay.
That's
And
not
my
bad.
arrearage,
And that, to be honest, like,
yeah,
from the
it's
sources
not.
I've heard, it's not even that high. But keep going.
Yeah, you're doing good, man.
So
Right.
so mine was almost $4,000, because mine, when I received my arrearage, it was October 1st, 2020. The case was filed January 2020. When that case was filed, so that's
So you started off
10, 9,
months
10
behind.
months.
Right. I hear what
Right,
you're saying.
right. So when my case started January 2020, I was supposed to go to court March 2020. And that would have set the child support payments for March 2020. But my case kept getting pushed back so far, so many months, so many times, that it ended up having our first hearing October 1st, 2020. The first hearing was supposed to be March, because it was in COVID thing and other things were taking place during the inside of the court building with my case. My case was pushed back maybe 5 times. So the case was started in January 2020. Our first scheduled court hearing was supposed to be March 2020, but we didn't make it until October 1st, 2020. Just laying out those dates right there, because that's important. All right. October 1st, 2020, I tell the judge how much money I believe I'm making, how much I'm making. She creates an order based off of what the mother of the child, the mother of our child, is requesting. And then I received that amount because the judge wanted arrearage to be paid from January to October. I never had an order from a judge on how much to pay towards the support of the child. That's how mine came up to be about $4,000. So I'll elaborate on that for other men, but I like to speak slow and deliberately, because it gives people time to think about questions, and I'm not just gonna ramble on. I want to because I want people to think about what I'm saying in regards to my case, and then in regards to other people's cases, because you all just said that's not high. and it's not high compared to other people's cases who start out in arrearage at 26, 27, 40,000, 80,000, $112,000 in arrearage.
And people go to jail over this stuff. So you would think that the system that tracks it or requires it would understand that starting folks off in the rearage is very, it seems like it's not going to be as beneficial as you think. Like if people had the money to just cough up $20,000 for their child, in most cases, I would hope that people would actually do that. You know what I mean? Like you're not withholding the money to be a jerk about it. It's because like folks are out here trying to survive. What would your take be, Robert? Like what? So you started off in the rear. Like what? Then what? How does that work?
So I started out in the rearage. I. Let's talk about other guys. Some guys start out in a rearage because, as you just said, Quita, I don't know if you were using a joke or you were being real about it. Some guys give money to the mother of their child. Some women even have to, you generally don't see it, but some women may give money to the father and they have no order whatsoever, nothing from a judge, nothing from the court. So my cousin, I got a cousin, she in Mississippi, she's about 55, 60 now. And we've always been close. And when I told her what was going on, she was like, I bet you when you was giving money, you didn't have it documented. I said, you're right. She said, that's why you have arrearage. And she wasn't being mean about it. She ended up explaining to me how when her daughter was a child, because she's my cousin by way of marriage, but she had her first child when she was not married to my cousin. And so her and her father, her child, they weren't together. They separated after, I guess, a couple of years. So she started telling me about her. She was on supervised visitation. I think the father was on I was like a one-month supervisor. She said, yeah, it was a long story. She told me about it. But she was telling me this because she was like, I know what you're experiencing. I'm not just gonna beat you down. I know what you're going through. And not what you're going through. I know where you are when you tell me that you're in arrearage because I know how it came about. I was like, wow. So let's carry this to other men. Some men are giving funds, cash flow, because it's the manly thing to do. I'm a man. I'm gonna take care of my seeds. They're my little kings and queens and princes and princesses or whatever you want to call them. And you're giving cash. And you have not gone through Title 4D. The mother of your child has not went to sign up for public assistance aid yet. Or the father hadn't signed up for public assistance aid yet. Whoever has the physical child. When they go to sign up for it, one of the things that is asked, and this wasn't my case, I have a totally different reference to child support than what I'm explaining, but because I was doing some reading and studying and reading law school books, I built up an experience for myself. So I'm not giving legal advice. I'm talking about my experience from what I was studying, because I wanted to know what was going on, because I was in the dark, because this was something that I've first time experiencing this in my life. So when they sign up for those assistance programs, one of the questions that is asked is, would you like the father or the mother to make some support payments? some type of question like that, because somebody has to pay for the health insurance, and Medicaid or whatever other organization that supplies benefits, they want funds from somewhere. So they gather those funds from a person who has been named as a parent of the child. And because that may happen in, let's say, I'll just use my dates. That may happen in January 2020. The child is 7 years old. January 2020, their 7th birthday. That triggers an action for the state to go after the person that a Title 40 claim is being made against. One of my friends has been in child support for 20 years. He was explaining these things to me because he's going through it right now with one of his almost oldest children. Because child support is being asked for 7 years ago, up until the date. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
With the arrearage is, huh?
I was gonna say yes and no, right? In my because I'll share a situation that I'm in, just a little bit of my situation. I have back support for a time when my children lived with me. I raised them with their mother, but their social security numbers were sold to her sister so she could get EBT, food stamps, and Medicaid benefits and tax return, extra money on her tax return. So unbeknownst to me, when all those things are applied for in the state of Florida automatically registers you for child support to make up for those funds they're giving out to the children. And if you don't have a lawyer or an advocate to navigate the system for you, I just have to eat it because I can't, I have a lawyer I can't afford, and we can't figure out how to navigate the system to correct that. And then on top of that, my children live with me now for over a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I'm still getting child support coupons, even though the court issued a stop order from the time they moved in with me. And the MVA is threatening to suspend my license, even though I have a court order saying stop the child support payments until we have a court date to reestablish custody and reevaluate the situation. The problem is none of the judges want to take accountability to protect the children and step on the toes of another state's jurisdiction, even though nobody's living in that state anymore, right? So it's really a difficult system. So that's just some of my experience. When you say, does that make sense? It makes sense that he would owe that back support. It doesn't make sense that he might not necessarily, like for me, I don't necessarily owe what it says I owe, but I still have to pay it or there's consequences. So like some of the situations won't make sense, but you got to deal with the system that we put ourselves in, right?
Right. Like part of the question is, does it make sense within the system or does it make sense within everyday life? Like where are you asking, does it make sense? Because at some point we have to understand that the system is put in place to keep the system above everyone else. You know what I mean? So it's going to continue to suppress and oppress whoever it needs to be, whether it's single mothers who need help raising children, or whether it's fathers who don't live with their children that didn't realize that they were about to be going to child support court because the mom applied for whatever program or filled out whatever form. Like, these are things that I would hope, people talk about and understand beforehand, but I would be surprised if they did, because half the time you talk to the people that are in these offices that you're supposed to get help from, and they can't even help you. So I don't know who is there to help navigate the system if you cannot afford a lawyer. Like, how do you maneuver?
And let me make one more comment, and I'll give it back to Robert. Not everybody is a good guy or a good dad trying to take care of family, and not every dad is a deadbeat dad. So I think another problem is that no one takes the time to assess the individual family. There's just this system that just grinds them out. And but I think the reason Robert's on this show today is because he's in a he's a positive father. He's in a situation, even though he's not neck deep like some people, he's in a situation that he sees I guess unfairness. I think that you see some unfairness or incongruencies that need change. And so for me, I turn to someone like Robert and talk to him like, bro, what's going on? What do we do? Because of his passion for making sure that we're as fathers doing the right thing, but we're also being supported as fathers, right? And with that, I mean, Robert, if you want to respond to Quita.
I will. And those are some awesome points you all put up. And they're so awesome that they're confusing. There's a guy on YouTube. His name is Mr. Palmer. He has a Facebook group too, but I won't say the name of the Facebook group, F Child Support. I'm not going to say that. But Mr. Palmer has a Facebook, I don't know, F Child Support. Just saying. But he has a YouTube called Mr. Palmer. One of Mr. Palmer's deals is he says you have to change the laws in your mind. And when I heard him say that, I said, man, what is this guy talking about? And then I kept hearing him say it. I pop into his live stream. They going 5 and 6 hours on a live stream. God dang. And it's packed. But I kept hearing him say, change the laws in your mind. I said, man, I need to change my mind about some things. And I stopped trying to focus on what they were doing. And I started trying to focus on what I needed to do to keep myself involved in whatever is coming down the pipe. And somebody made a comment just now and said, if you owe, you must pay. I think that's what the person just said. It was a comment that just popped up. That a comment like that, and this is not my audience, but if I can, I'll say this. A comment like that is a comment that can, if you owe, it makes sense. Michael, Mr. Michael, that a comment like that is a comment that fuels antagonism when it comes to child support. There are and I'm not talking about Mr. Michael. I'm just saying that blanket comment. Because, people will be talking, guys and gals will be talking about this issue in a room, and somebody just walk in, blah, 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 and vomit on everybody. And everybody stop talking about the positive conversation they was having about child support, and they start either talking about that vomit or they don't talk about it at all. See, when it comes to the discussion of child support, which is different from legal custody and physical custody and child attorney fees and division of property, child support is its own little separate entity. And there needs to be, I ain't gonna say what that needs to be. It would be great if people touched on this topic very light, they tread on it very lightly, because emotions are involved. Because you do have parents who don't give a flip about their children. And you have parents who care about their children. But you may have parents who care about their children, but one of the parents doesn't like the other parent. And they want to see, as somebody just said, Quita just said, somebody might go to jail off of child support. Hence, I'm on a program called Non-Title 4D. There's also Title 4D. Title 4D is when you go through administration, child support administration, Department of Health and Human Services, whoever's controlling the child support in your area, in your county, in your region or state. That's Title 4D. I'm in what's called non-Title 4D, and there are a lot of people involved in it as well. And that's when you are ordered to like physically hand over money, because you know, to the other party. Some men go to the child support administration and pay the money. Some have to send it directly to some parents have to go to the child support administration. Other parents pay directly to the custodial parent or whoever has physical access to the child. I'm in that side where I'm paying, and hey, I'm happy to pay child support. I ain't no issue with me. I'm not one of those guys like, I don't like the system. I don't like the system because of the repercussions that can take place in a person's life. Yet, it's a payment system. Just like you got Visa and MasterCard. It's a payment system. One person takes funds, put it into this multi-billion-dollar industry called child support, and then out comes funds to the other parent. That's the Title 4D. Mine is going straight to the mom in a non-Title 4D track. So in a Title 4D, funds go into a system. And I hear a lot of people have an argument about this because let's say the man pays $400 into the system, or the parent. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell, and I don't mean to say man all the time, but you know, it's a lot of times it's men. But the parent pays into the system, and then $400, and then the mom may get $75, $128, $262.83. What happened to the rest of the funds? I don't know. I don't work in the industry.
Well,
where'd the difference go?
I want to back up to a comment you made that's important too, is that you know, many of us are frustrated. So I'll say that many of us are frustrated with the system. Regardless of our situation, whether you're doing the right thing or not, it's frustrating to be in. But it's important what you said, that like, I'm happy to pay, right? Like, I know I don't get along with the mother. She knows that. We all know that. We went to court. We ain't no secret, right? But you still want to be able to take care of your kids. And when there's not custody and time invested in your kids, then something else you can do to supplement or still serve them is to pay your child support. So I want to back up to that point and make sure that that statement was heard. Like, there's dads out here that want to pay and want their children to be taken care of. Not everybody. But again, not everybody's a deadbeat dad. And I think a lot of us can acknowledge that are in the system. But people that don't experience it at all, they're quick to jump to conclusions, right?
Right. So, I mean, because let's be honest. I know that there are parents that are often women that leverage child support to be vindictive. Not because it's a bad parent, or they're not getting support for their child, or, you know what, it's because they're mad, or, you know, there was some, and you know what, let me be even more specific. Not that they're mad at one particular thing, but that something triggered it. Like, it was used as, I'm going to dangle this carrot in front of you, and as long as you act right, I'm not going to go to child support. But something triggered that behavior, and they went down to child support. And I feel like it's used as, it's almost weaponized. Yeah. And if anything in the system can be weaponized, then it's one-sided, and something needs to be figured out. Like, something is inequitable about it if it can be weaponized. And I think that that's problematic. So I think that that's a conversation worth having, that why the hell is child support being weaponized, and why is the system supporting it being that way? Like, why is it seen that way? So that might be another conversation for another day, but I'm gonna go on mute.
Well, let me give the mic back to Robert, but I'll share one more experience with you. And these are just experiences, like Robert said. These are just our experiences that we're sharing, and we know that men out there can relate. So, I actually had two child support cases from two different moms coming up as a young man and young father. However, one of them. So when I moved back to Baltimore, one of them stated. So I got a letter from Annapolis, and it stated. That I owed back support, maybe like not a lot, like $1,800 or something I had missed between jobs or something. So I moved back to Baltimore from Florida. They called up with me and they said, "Hey, you owe this money." And I had just gotten a job. I didn't have any money. But I had to go to this mediation, and basically the state said, "Come to mediation. Let's talk about your arrears, or we'll issue a bench warrant." So now I have to go because I'm starting a new job and get my life back together. I can't afford to sit in jail, right? So I take my last dime, put a little bit of gas money in the car, drive down to Annapolis, and I get there in the mediation room with the mediator. And basically, they said, "Look, you owe $1,800. You can pay us now, or sign this piece of paper." They blew up. I think they blew up the numbers. What bothered me, it was like 1,800 to get me in the door. When I got there, they're like, "Oh, you owe like 7,000, 8,000." And I'm like, "For what?" Like, I don't agree with that. They said, "Well, if you don't sign this document stating that you agree to this back support, then you're not leaving the building. You're going to jail." So they brought me in and told me, they brought me in on a lie. Then the state in Annapolis, the state told me that if I didn't sign this piece, basically like held me hostage, sign this piece of paper saying you owe $8,000, whether you owe it or not, we don't care. It's not an appeal thing. It's sign this or go to jail. And so I was like, oh, I guess I'll sign that, just so I could go home, start my job, try to reset my life. And now I have this like thing on my shoulder that I have no idea where it came from. I have no chance of appeal. So like I got bullied by the state for more back support, right? So that's just an experience that I had in the system, right? And so I just wanted to share that before I gave the mic back to Robert, because I want to hear more about what you have to say. But I think things like that, stories like that, experiences like that just need to be shared either by the person. Like I need to share that because I was traumatized by my governing agency. But I think also other people need to know that you're not the only one going through stuff. And I'm going to mute my mic.
That's right. Aquita, you said something a minute ago about weaponizing the child. I saw a cartoon, one of those cartoons in the newspaper. It may have been that law school book I found a law school book one day. I found like 5 of them. And one of them was for family law. Now, I found these books maybe 6 to 12 months before I went through my situation. So these books, while me and my mother and my child together with our child, these books are just in the trunk of my car. Law school book. I don't want to go to law school, but I just found some books that I know cost $500 a piece. Man, it's valuable. I just threw them in my car, drove off. I'm not even thinking about them. After the blow up, and then I got my own space, I'm bringing my books in the house, and I'm like, family law. I'm like, I got a law school book? Get out of here. Get out. I got a law school book. I dived into that friggin' joker and gobbled up what I can get. So people say, well, how do you think you know so much about? Because I sat down and I read a book that gave what the law school students are studying. I'm not a lawyer, never claimed to be one, but I started to get the mindset of what was going to happen before it actually happened. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was reading what had already happened before me. So I said, I'm going to fall into one of these paradigms. And there's so many different scenarios that I was just trying to prepare myself. So there was this caption of this judge with a fishing pole, holding the baby on the fishing pole. And the judge is sitting on the bench. with a fishing pole, and the baby is on the hook. You have a man, what appears to be a father, running up to the bench, but you have characters that human characters that represent agencies, the bailiff, child support, the ex, the whatever. It's like 4 entities that are like offensive line type pushing this linebacker back. And the judge is holding this, and the mother is off somewhere with a cackle. So when you talk about weaponizing, that is serious. So when I saw that caption, I became traumatized because I realized that it wasn't just Robert Washington or Raising a Dead Solutions going through what I'm about to go up against. This is institutional. It's damn near structural. Pardon my language. It's in the fabric of our being. Can I say something, Quita? And I'm gonna say this, right? And I might hurt some feelings when I say this.
It's okay.
Michael Jordan, swoosh, Air Jordan brand. The Air Jordan brand. I'm from Mississippi. Joker, in my area, they like J's and Polo. J's and the little horse. The smaller the horse, the better. The smaller the horse, the higher the shirt, the better off you are. But Air Jordans.
It's like that in
when I was growing up.
Not just Mississippi, but go ahead.
Okay, cool. Okay, I might hurt more than Mississippi then. Air Jordan. Air Jordans in crap game dice. I'll talk about Jordan and dice. When I was in middle school, well, growing up, a lot of people had Jordans. I never had them. I just never was a shoe guy. Me and my brother weren't like that. And then my mom couldn't afford them, but whatever. But a lot of people around us had Jordans. I'm like, dang, how y'all get all these money by these $150 shoes? You're in the 6th grade. And you and your brothers and your sisters, all y'all got Jordans, multiple pair of Jordans a year. From K through 12. $150 times 5 is $750 for some shoes on your feet. Then we get to middle school, high school, jokers shooting dice. I got 20, I can't afford to shoot no dice. I couldn't get in that game. But I got friends in 6th, 7th, 8th grade pulling out $200, $300 out of their pocket. They shooting dice in the bathroom. They shooting dice at the house. They shooting dice. I'm like, how y'all jokers getting this bread?
Right.
Then we got older high school people start trying to sell drugs. Where you getting the money to start your drug empire? A lot of them were single parent raised who were getting child support. Jordan made a lot of flipping money. The Air Jordan brand, not Jordan, the Air Jordan brand. Whoever owns that brand made a lot of money off child support. The dice games all over the country, in the back alleys, in the bathrooms at school. A lot of money was made. A lot of pistols were sold. A lot of drugs were sold. A lot of alcohol was bought. With child support, and child support does a lot of great things now, but Air Jordan is a multi-billion-dollar brand, probably based off of a system where funds are stripped from one parent to give to the other, and to show and this is my opinion, just to show what love for a child, to show love to a child in material form, you give the funds to Air Jordan, to Hibbets, to Nike, to whoever owns these brands. And I'll tell you where that idea came from. I was in a fatherhood program, and the guy came on. He said, "Yeah, I work with Child Support Administration." I said, "Hey," and this is me being ignorant as hell. I said, "Hey, how do I make money on child support?" He said, "What? Are you being funny? What do you mean?" I said, "Well, if I got a product to sell," he said, "I'll throw you a few pennies." You trying to make a joke. And he got pissed. And it's like 20 something million on his call. I just shut my camera off and I ain't even saying nothing. I listened to the rest of the phone call. I was so hurt. But he had a point. I wasn't making a joke because I was exposing something. See, child support is a spigot that if you turn that mug off on, it's going to be a rush of funds. But if you turn it off, there may be a bulge in the system and it may pop out. It's so much funds that are flowing through that system. It's so much money that is going through that system. And that's the problem. That's the problem. You know, it said that a deadbeat dad is the problem. That is a problem, but it's not the major issue. The major issue always goes back to money. I had a professor, I went to NYU for a little while. It was for a summer program. And it's Dr. Richard Zakhan, man, one of the smartest guys. And I'm going to say it straight up. He's a Jew, man. And he was proud of his Jewishness. And he let you know I'm a Jew. And so I'll say that. He was an old Jewish guy, man. Dr. Richard Zakhan, the most brilliant professor I ever, well, one of the most brilliant professors I ever had. He said, class, always follow the money. Money is always at the end of everything. So he told me I was like 22, 23. I ain't think about it. And yeah, for those who, I mentioned my professor was a Jew. I know people get a little tense about when you mention that term. My professor, you can go call him Richard Zakhan, email him, Facebook him. He'll be like, yeah, he may say he remember me, he may not, I don't know. But he was proud of who he was, which a person rightfully should be. But follow the money. What is this money going towards? And a lot of times this money is going towards taking care of the children, but it also can be going towards weaponizing putting a weapon in the midst of a relationship between two parents. And then the child has to suffer because of a weapon that is created to separate his or her parents so that that child can't have a stable can or cannot have a stable situation between their two parents. So yeah, I'll just say it. It is weaponized. It is what child support can be weaponized, and the court system can be weaponized, especially when it's dealing with a family law. It can be a weaponized. So
yeah, and I think to your point, like there are definitely things that are systemic and structural that do help, you know, and are necessary in some extreme cases. But in most cases, I feel like between grandmothers and the aunties and the uncles, like neighborhoods can police themselves. Between two trusting adults that were once upon a time like in a relationship, sometimes they never even had to be in a relationship, but the court doesn't need to always get involved. But systemically and structurally, the court benefits from being involved in these things. They get their service fees, they get to train inspectors, they make jobs out of it. Like it's a whole system. So we can't negate that, but we do have to acknowledge that they're not needed in every single circumstance. And in some cases, it's like this is court enforced. This is state enforced. Like the mother's like, I didn't want to do anything. The father's like, oh, I didn't want to do anything. But the system is getting their sticky little grubby little hands in it, enforcing things that may not have normally, you know, come about. So it's kind of disheartening because the way that the system is, like, to your point, it's all about the money. But if you listen to me, it's all about sustaining white supremacy to some degree. And I really think that this all started to suppress Black fathers and get involved in Black families' lives. Like, yes, other races and, you know, the ethnicities, even economic different levels are being, you know, challenged and changed. But when it comes down to it, I really think that it was to destroy Black families. Like, let's be real. And I'm sorry, that in a lot of ways, I feel like that is the root of a whole bunch of stuff that we talk about. It's like to sustain, this American dream that was never really a dream to any of the people that I know. So, Robert, with all that being said, what are the solutions that are being available or that you found in your experience, in addition to talking to your community or talking to your tribe, like Chat mentioned? What are some of the things that you found that are kind of helping you through it, in addition to reading the books?
So to answer that question regarding solutions, a shameless plug, Raising a Dad Solutions. That's my TikTok name. I'm all about solutions. Never once have I said anything about any father, any mother. My baby mama, I say mother, my child. I ain't say anything else about it. I ain't said anything about that. I came on when I started, I mentioned a solution. My solution was a program that's taking place in Baltimore about cutting the child support arrearage in half. That's a solution. Maybe the best, it may not be. Second solution, I'm a part of a program called the National Fatherhood Initiative. And in that program, it's a 3-week program. Men, fathers, or if you have guardianship over a child as a man, male, man, you can take this certification that they give you. And if child support has, if by way of the Child Support Administration, your license has been revoked, this relationship with the National Fatherhood Initiative based in Germantown, it's a national program, but it's based over in Germantown, Maryland. You can take this documentation to your court hearing, and you can make an argument with this paper that you should be able to get your license back because you need to get to work. That's another solution.
Robert, that is a huge solution, because so for me, working with the population of people who are unhoused and experiencing housing insecurity, like being without your ID is huge. It's a huge disservice. You're locked out of a lot of different resources. It's hard. It's a hassle when you want to cash a check, when you're stopped by the police or anything. Like, that's a big deal. So that's a huge solution. So I agree. And your program,
what was the name of the program you just mentioned again?
The National Fatherhood Initiative.
And that's
so I'm an ambassador.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And they do it by Zoom now. I'm an ambassador for the program, so I set people up with talking to our executives, and they have sometimes we talk to them one-on-one. Other times we have a monthly or bi-monthly meeting to schedule people to be a part of the next group or cohort group. So I believe they might be on like cohort 9 right now, maybe 10. They usually have one cohort a month. I was a part of the first cohort, so this may be like cohort 8 now. So the first online virtual cohort was May. Hey man, I did it on my phone. I was traveling. I was in Mississippi, man. I was like, I can do this over my phone. I'm like, this is cool. I don't have to go and sit in the classroom, because they used to have it pre-COVID that you had to be in a physical location for a set amount of times. I don't know if it was 3 weeks or a month, but you had to go to a physical location, and that made it difficult for men who were not in Montgomery County,
right,
Maryland.
Yeah, it restricts
now men from all over. If you got access to the internet, contact the organization, which I'm happy to hook men up for this. And then they can get access to this, to a lot of other benefits. But the immediate benefit upon graduation, there's a graduation ceremony and everything. You celebrate, a hand clap, you get a certification, you get a shout out, you get emails, you got a support group, you got people you can talk to, you got friends. It's great. But the immediate asset, well, you actually get $250 going through the process. So that's the immediate asset, that money, but it's Target gift cards. But the immediate asset for your specific fatherhood issue that you may be having is you can make an argument with this thing. Hey, man, I know I messed up, or I know it appears I messed up, or I'm not in good standing, or I'm in between jobs. They have taken my license. Is it possible that I can use a program that I've been through to have them speak on my behalf so I can possibly get my license back, so I can possibly keep my job, please, sir, ma'am? And you have a great chance of being told, you have a better chance. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, looks like you're doing good. Here you go, we'll give you your license back. Now you can get back on the road. Now you can go and do your insurance job. Now you can do your plumbing job if you need a license for doing that, or you need to, whatever license that you have. You can get back in the game and start making funds to rectify whatever's going on between you and the court with regard to your child support and your access to your own personal freedom. So, yeah, so I don't have a whole lot of solutions. Although my show is called Raising a Dad Solutions. Go ahead.
I just wanted to comment on that, is that the incentive is the ID stuff, but I think you can attest to the fact that when you're in the program, you're building relationships with other fathers who are in the program who want to be better fathers. And I think there's a lot of value beyond the obvious incentive of building those relationships and sharing experiences and having conversations and the things that you're taught and you learn through the National Fatherhood Program. So I think just to not make light of those things either. The incentive, yes, you can get your license back and it's it's a good stepping stone to the next level, but the things you learn in that program are also going to elevate you and elevate your relationship with your children.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. Yeah, Robert, and I think those were great solutions. Like, even though you said you don't have a lot, like, I think that was plenty. Like, people get information, and I believe in Pavlov's law, and I promise less than 10% of the people are going to do anything with the information. So the fact that it's out there and that you're giving the resource, even if it was one, would have been useful. So always know that, right? So there's your program, there's national programs, and people can Google, right? But I think that your program and your TikTok page and just having these other different resources that people can tap into when they're ready, I think that's really cool. So I appreciate everything that you've shared today. I think it was very helpful.
Yeah, I appreciate you all for having me. And, the first thing I said was change the laws in your mind. Based off of this guy, I learned about him through another TikTok creator, not TikTok, but YouTube content creator. Watching his stuff, learn about this guy, start watching this guy, start realizing what's to be mad at. As a man, when you go up in that court building, as a parent, I say man because I can only represent it. I ain't got nothing against no woman. Womans, I like to say womans with an S. I don't women. But I'm just saying, when a lot of times I would go to the court building and just sit in the court rooms and listen. This was before I ever had a hearing. And the conversation towards the person that is seen as the man is harsh. It is so harsh.
And people don't even know the whole story.
Negative.
They automatically assume it's a deadbeat dad. And like I said, we've seen it weaponized. And I think that people need to talk about that and be honest about what's really going on. Because there are a lot of cousins and homeboys and even homegirls that are out here giving cash money, and it's not being tracked or recorded or any of that. And these babies are just fine. And we need I'm tired of hearing the story about the deadbeat dads. All the
That's
fathers
that's
I
right.
know are
That's
not
right.
dead.
That's right. It's an old story. It's an old story, and yeah, it's an old. I just decided to change the laws in my mind. I got tired of being. I'm not going to say the D word. I got tired of not feeling good. I got tired of not taking a step. You know, for all intents and purposes, I claim Christianity, right? But I got tired of feeling so down that I can't even don't even know how to call on God or even look up. Like literally, pick my head up and look at a blue sky. I got tired of feeling inadequate, and I got tired of my conversation teetering on anxiety and anger, and people can see you when you walk up. And I said, I'm gonna change my mind. I need to change. I need to get this thing straight. And when I got this thing straight, I felt like I was human again. Because you go through time because you don't know. You know, you spend that big money on a lawyer, you can spend a little money on a lawyer, you can get a pro bono lawyer. But just because you get a lawyer doesn't mean that you aren't involved in the situation.
Right.
You still have to live your life second for second. And you need to be present. You can say I gotta be present for my child. No, you need to be present for yourself.
Right.
So you gotta change, get this thing right here right. It gonna take, man, I'm talking about, it's like
yeah.
Right. You know, so I just want to lay it out there, just for people, for the guys and ladies, get this thing right. It takes a while though, because it's a new, attorneys go to school 3 years just to be able to try to sit for a bar exam, which is gonna take place probably 6 months to 12 months later, because they have to study after going to school for 3 years just to sit for a test. I got a friend now, been out of law school 8 years, took the bar 5 or 6 times, passed it 0 times.
Mm-hmm.
But she's got a law degree. There's nothing against her. I'm just saying she just can't get it. And so for a litigant to hop in, and you're a litigant when you're in the court system, whether it's just for child support, custody, or whatever. We're talking about family law. If you don't get your head right, you are going to suffer. And I'm not talking about at the hands of the court. Yourself is going. For example, there's an issue in Baltimore that just took place. I guess it just took place. I just heard about it. Guy, or it's in the Baltimore area. Guy supposedly deleted his wife or ex-wife or ex-girlfriend, who I believe he was the father of a child with her. Then he went on live, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, as he's at his ex-wife's house, talking about how he's about to delete her. She walks outside the house. He's like, oh, look, speaking of her, she coming outside. I guess when he cut off the camera, he deleted her and then deleted himself.
Mental health is real.
I think this is recent.
Okay?
And look,
that's a mental health issue. And so one thing I do want to say is, Robert, when you were telling your story, you said something about you don't want to say the D word. Like, depression is real. Mental health is real. Anxiety is real. Like, those are things that we talk about and have to acknowledge. Like, it's real. That's not normal. You don't go around killing 3 people in one day, including yourself. Like, these are things that we really need to talk about, and especially during COVID and all of this isolation. Oh my goodness, that's awful. That is awful.
Yeah, so I'll comment and say this, that being in the system, trying to do the right thing for a long time, it is frustrating. It's overwhelming. And so, if anybody listening needs help, you don't know what to do, because I don't know what to do. I've been not knowing what to do for 12 years, man. But Robert is here to help. I appreciate, man. I appreciate your passion. You know what I mean? I appreciate your passion, bro. Because he said he's an ambassador for the National Fatherhood program. He's an ambassador for a lot of different things, man. You out there just like, you know, when you find something you're passionate about, you just hit the street with it, man, and you share it, and I appreciate that about you. And so yeah, like for me, being overwhelmed for like well over a decade with the system. I got a 22-year-old in the Army now, damaged from the trauma of child support system. I'm building a relationship now with my two sons after 10 years of not being in their life as part of the trauma from the child support and court system. But I want to say I appreciate men like you, Robert, who are willing to share your testimony and your experience, who are willing to point men towards help and support, and also offer them an opportunity to be better fathers. But like you said, it starts here, and if we got to fix our way of thinking, so we can't help nobody else, and we can't help our children if we can't help ourselves. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate all the opportunities you represent. I love you, brother, and I appreciate your time tonight.
Love you too. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate you all for having me.
Absolutely. Yes, thanks for coming out. God bless and good night.
All right. Good night, y'all.
Good night. Take care.